must have
George,
been like from her
1 minute. We
perspective
can,
would be. Yeah,
George,
go on.
1 second, because we are going off air in a moment. However, I will record the rest of this right now so that listeners can continue to listen. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And George, thank you.
And thank you for everyone listening. I saw loads of messages online, people saying they're loving the show, and let's do it again soon.
I'd love that. Well, but please carry on with the story now, because the people who subscribe, I didn't even get a chance to tell people all about, what we're doing and how we avoid all the adverts and everything. At only $3.99 a month, they can subscribe and they can support the station, and we give 25% to food banks and all the stuff that we do. But oops, I'll try not to hit my microphone as well. But anyway, please, let's go back to the story that you were just saying before I.
Yeah, so my mum wrote a book called Cry Salty Tears, which was a very sad book. I mean, I read it, I did the foreword.
Yeah.
And although I grew up, obviously, with my mother and father, there were a lot of things I didn't know about, because you can't know everything.
No.
So reading the book was very difficult. There was a lot of tears. And I've always wanted to do a film about my mum, and I've written a lot of songs about my mum when she was alive, but also a couple since she passed. I've got a song called I Saw You Leave, because I was with my mum when she went. And in fact, I'll send you that because we're talking about it. But I also have another song called Sweet Jesus, because my mum used to say Jesus. It was a bit Irish. Jesus, everything was Jesus.
My dad was Irish.
Yeah, I've written this song called Sweet Jesus, but also another song called If You Leave, which is about my mum leaving, to find my dad and everything. And, the Irish, there's so much tragedy in every Irish story. We've been through so much as a culture, as a race of people.
Yeah.
I know I'm considered a plastic paddy, but growing up with the name O'Dowd's, I was very aware of my Irishness as a kid.
Yes.
And I'd like to do a film about my mum called Up the Irish.
Great, George. I love that idea. Up the Irish. Brilliant. Yeah, my father was Irish and my mother Welsh. I mean, so there was just no hope for me. Really.
Well, it's a good, as I say, I was in Cardiff a couple of weeks ago. I saw you there.
Yeah.
And the Welsh are fine people, and there's a warmth in Wales and a kind of craziness too.
Yes. But I love that craziness, like my mother, who was an artist and who, she was in fact, she was one of the highest paid Fleet Street artists in the late 50s, and a very charismatic, crackers lady. She was from South Wales, and she ended up leaving the valleys very early when she was only 16 to go to Cardiff Art College, and then left for London, 3 years after that, because she didn't fit in there, and she needed to be in London where she could have green hair or whatever else she wanted at the time.
Yeah, well, look, Steve Strange, very famous Welshman, came to London and ignited a huge scene in London, but had to leave Wales to do that, and there were a lot of crazy characters that used to come from Wales during the punk days. I used to remember them very well.
Yeah.
Steve being the sort of most famous of all of them.
I remember seeing you, a video of you. I don't know if it was on Top of the Pops or something like that, or it was something anyway. And I remember I was a teenager at the time, and I ended up making some clothes so that I could have that same wacky look, because you couldn't actually go out and buy these things, and you really did create everything. And that's one of the things that isn't really there today in music, that whole fashion cult thing where anything kind of goes.
I think it's coming back, though. I absolutely
so.
think, because I think all things are cyclical, and I think it's coming back. I think there's going to be a return to, because, the political climate is getting quite right wing. There's a mood in the world, and that normally forces the flowers to grow through the cracks. Usually in these sort of right wing moods, people get more colorful, and I think, everything goes round in a circle. I'd like to hear more 50s music. I can see a return to rock and roll, and then also maybe the return of the New Romantics, but in whatever form it takes now. But I can see that happening.
Yes, I can. I discovered weird things happen. I'm always on about the energy of the universe, all this sort of stuff, because I'm really, really, I believe in it. And I grew up with it. It's never going to change for me. And I was sitting on I was doing a live jukebox judgment show in London and at the Dublin Castle, and I had to get there. I was on the train, and I live in a village outside Bristol in the countryside. It's very quiet, very private. Even if there's a new postman, it'll take him days to find me. It's great. Anyway, so we had the jukebox judgment show on the go. I got on the train just out 3 miles away from the village that I live in, and it's a direct train to London. But there were huge numbers of coaches, about 12 of them, and I thought, oh, this is strange. I'm the only person on the train. Lovely. Got everything out on the table. We got to Bristol, crowds of people, literally just you couldn't find a seat on the train at all. It was inundated. I hadn't realised there was a Manchester United football match on. There was the marathon on. This was in May. There was a whole pile of stuff going on. And there was a very beautiful young man standing, squashed. All the seats were taken up, but there was one seat left next to me, and he was squashed, standing. I could have got on any other carriage, George. And I could have got on a later train, an earlier train, anything at all. But this guy happened to be squashed, standing, and I said, "Well, why don't you take this seat? Sit down next to me." Anyway, so he did, and I took a phone call from Steve Lillywhite. And we were talking music, obviously, and the next few things that we were doing, working on together. And this young man, he said to me, "Oh, you're into music?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he said, "Oh, I love music. I'm into it as well. I write songs and I play and stuff, but I haven't done anything with it." He bumped across to me a track. He said, "Oh no, I'll email it to you. You can hear it when you get back, wherever you are." And I said, no, it's okay. Just bump it across to me now, and I'll listen to it now." Really? Well, yes. So I'm just going to search for it very quickly, George. 1 second. His name's actually Harry Anstey. He decided on the name Sugar Tax because he was diagnosed diabetic as a child, and he loves writing music. This completely blew me away. And this is a track that he sent me, bumped it across. It's called Higher Ground.
Gorgeous.
Isn't it fabulous?
It's like drunk gospel.
Yeah, it is. It's I just loved it. But I couldn't believe that. Well, I could believe it because that's how my life is. Welcome to Dawny's world. That's what everybody says. So little magical stuff happens. But I think that there was something that it was just too many coincidences altogether. And anyway, so I've very much taken him under my wing, and he's put a band together now that is, that sounds exactly like that. And we've done a video aboard my lovely friend's super yacht, and I want them to get out there because his work is just amazing.
And they're called Sugar Tax, yeah?
Sugar Tax. But anything that you find, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything you find online, though, is not Sugar Tax as it is. Because another unfortunate thing that happened for him, this is Harry Anstey. Harry is Sugar Tax. So, but he's now got some band members together. But he went to a producer who just produced it in the way that he wanted it to sound. And that is what's out there. And Harry can't even remove it from Spotify, he was saying. But he's not very tech savvy. So, but I
think trying to move, just don't bother. Let it, it's done. Believe it.
Yeah.
Move on. And, just because, you can, it's funny. I worked with an artist a couple of years ago, and we did a song called House of Truth, a young kid called Jamie Hanna.
Yeah.
And there was a falling out, not with me, with another producer. And he wanted the track taken down. And I said no, because we own the track and we're not taking it down. And it's now been licensed for a French movie. So, sometimes, sometimes you just need to, just to wait. And, sometimes, it's like a piece of art. You go back after a few months and you go, actually, I love it now. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, you can look back at stuff and be a bit more objective once you've got to where you want to go to next.
Yeah, and again, and with all of these things anyway, everything that's created from either a blank sheet of paper, whether it's a painting or a piece of music, a song, lyrics, poetry, whatever, all of it is completely subjective, isn't it?
I want to turn you on to this track. I'm going to go in a minute, but there's a track by a band called Of Montreal, and it's called Gronlandic Edit. Gronlandic Edit. And it reminds me of that band you just played me.
Sorry, PRO?
Gron,
Oh, sorry.
Gron, Gronlandic Edit. Song by Of Montreal. It's very Beatlesy, but it just reminds me a bit of the style of Sugar Tax, a little bit. But this is more Beatlesy.
Listen, this is the thing. You and I are so passionate about music that we could keep on introducing all these new things to each other, which I love. I want to play Gronlandic Edit right now because I want to give you my response the way that you gave me your response to Sugar Tax. Let's have a listen to this. Love it. I love that.
Quite Beatlesy, quite sort of revolverish.
Well, do you know, for me, that's got the 3 Bs. That's got a touch of the Beach Boys, the Beatles, and even Bowie.
Yeah, all good ingredients for a great pie.
Yeah. Yes, rather gorgeous around the edges there, darling. Perfect pie.
But we'll speak soon, yeah?
Yes, thank you so much, George. Hugely appreciated. And I hope you have the most wonderful Christmas. And I'd love to tell listeners as well that as of the 1st of January, when we have our new legacy, the official legacy chart, your track, which is Be Electric, the Punks soundcheck by Punks soundcheck featuring Boy George, of course. It will be in the voting pool and listeners will be able to vote for it by going to www.365radio.co. Head to charts. Directly below the first chart is a big pink button. And we all love our pink buttons being pressed. Click on that. It says vote and you can get to vote for Boy George and all other artists whose new songs you like. They're all in alphabetical order. George, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dawn. Have a great day.
Take care. You too. And have a fabulous Christmas as well.
Thanks, love. Bye.
Love. Bye.